Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Jennifer Lindgren. If you're feeling a little tired today, you're not alone. Most Americans lost an hour over the weekend for daylight saving time. But two New York lawmakers are hoping to stop the clocks from jumping again. Big Fox's Matt Kleindienst joins us now from Corning with tonight's top story.
Good evening, Jennifer. More and more people are questioning the need for daylight savings time after we changed our clocks back on Sunday. Two lawmakers in New York are pushing forth legislation that would hope to establish a more standard time. The changing of the clocks has spurred the biannual tradition of residents complaining about daylight saving time. Across the internet, many people clamored for state and national politicians to set a permanent time. In New York, Republican Joe Griffo and Democrat Angelo Santa Barbara are pushing new legislation that would end daylight saving time in the state. If passed, their bill would establish a permanent daylight saving time, effectively keeping the clocks where they're at right now. However, any change would require other nearby states to join with New York in establishing a permanent time. In statements, both lawmakers say they would continue working with neighboring states about similar legislation. In total, 18 states throughout the country have proposed to end daylight saving time. Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
Elmira police are warning business owners to lock up their doors after a string of burglaries in the city. According to police, local bars and businesses have been targeted in 3 separate burglaries last week in the city's south side. Business owners are being reminded to lock up all doors, windows, and secure all cash when closing up for the night. Any suspicious activity should be reported to the police department. Ukrainian and Russian officials continue their talks. Lauren Blanchard reports it's happening as Russia ramps up its attacks on civilians.
Russian forces ramp up their attempts to capture Ukraine's capital as more people flee to neighboring countries.
For me, it was enough to feel one-time vibration in the house from the bomb.
People across Ukraine continue to make the difficult choice to leave their homes. The majority of refugees are arriving here in Poland, filling shelters.
We met them with high fives and hugs, invited them in, made them feel at home.
The influx of people comes as Russia's military refocuses its efforts on capturing Kyiv. Shells fell over several of the city's suburbs, with Irpin and Hostomel seeing the worst of the fighting. Artillery fire hitting a 9-story apartment building north of the city, killing 2 people.
Russia has been preparing for this war for decades. They have accumulated significant military resources for the evil, for the conquest of neighbors.
Meanwhile, U.S. national security officials meeting with their Chinese counterparts in Rome as concerns grow that Russia asked China for military equipment.
We believe that we need to try to engage China, as it said, that we need to try to talk to them, that we can reason with them, that we can get them to see their interests are the same as ours. That's ridiculous. We've been trying this for 3 decades.
More than 2.8 million people have fled since the invasion began. That number is expected to grow to at least 4 million.
Gas prices in the U.S. appear to be stabilizing, but Alexandria Hoff tells us it's not clear if that will be enough to lift the inflationary pressure that's keeping prices high across the board.
After months of increases, we're finally starting to see some signs of relief at the pump. AAA reports the nationwide average for a gallon of gas remains steady at $4.32 for the last 2 days, after hitting a record high of $4.43 on Saturday. But most drivers say the price drop isn't happening fast enough, and many are still pinching pennies just to get to work.
If I fill my work truck, I'm well over $100. If it's local, I can suck that up, but if I'm heading to North County, then I have to make a slight adjustment.
And the surge in energy prices is causing big cost hikes across the U.S. economy. February saw an inflation rate of 7.9%, the highest in 40 years, with staple goods like eggs, meat, and auto parts all seeing a big spike. President Biden rejecting critics who claim his policies are to blame, saying the current hardship is Russia's fault.
The rescue plan contributed to 0.3% of inflation. Democrats didn't cause this problem. Vladimir Putin did.
But Republicans say inflation and gas prices were already rising quickly before the invasion, and they're urging the White House to open up more land for domestic energy production, calling it the fastest way to end the crisis.
the vast majority of that is not due to the war in Ukraine or our efforts. It has been due to the fact that the Biden administration has not wanted additional petroleum products to be made available.
The Federal Reserve is widely expected to raise a key interest rate later this week, which could help ease some of the pressure being caused by inflation.
New York lawmakers are pushing the Hochul administration to suspend the state's gas tax in an attempt to lower prices at the pump. A plan presented by Assembly GOP members would suspend the gas tax until the beginning of September. Local Assemblyman Phil Palmisano says the state needs to step in to relieve the pain at the pump.
We need to provide some direct assistance if it's possible. We have the opportunity to do that. We can't control the monetary policy at the national level, but we can provide some direct, immediate relief to people at the pump.
The bill also proposes that future funds from the gas tax go towards future infrastructure projects. Another volatile trading session with stocks ending mixed, and as investors monitor the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and an upcoming Federal Reserve meeting on interest rates. The 10-year Treasury yield touched its highest level since the summer of 2019. Tech stocks were among the biggest slowdowns, with Apple leading the charge. Energy companies got slammed as oil prices tumbled, while financial and healthcare companies gained. The iconic Museum of Modern Art in New York City was evacuated Saturday after police in the area responded to calls of a stabbing inside the museum. According to the New York Police Department, 2 museum employees were stabbed in the back after a man was denied entry into the museum because his membership had expired. The 2 victims were taken to a nearby hospital and are expected to survive. At this time, the suspect is still on the run. We have your complete workweek forecast coming up right after the break. Stay with us.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
All right, thanks again for checking in as we take a look at your local forecast, and we'll take you out to the National Weather Service in Binghamton from earlier Monday. A little bit of a high cloud cover situated overhead, filtering out that sunshine a little bit, but overall a pretty decent day, and hopefully adjusted to that time change all right. I know many folks were probably a little tired heading out the door Monday morning after losing that hour of sleep this weekend. So this was the radar and satellite picture from earlier today. You can see again those clouds streaming overhead. Even a little bit of light precip north and northeast of the Elmira Corning area. Waking up to 35 though on Tuesday morning. That'll be above average by 5-10 degrees or so, waking up to a 7-18 sunrise as well. So not as much daylight in the morning, but we have more daylight in the evening. So that is a nice trade-off. 53 degrees is our expected high. Once again, almost 10 degrees above the average, but pretty quiet overnight tonight, other than being a little bit cloudy. Might have some showers develop on Tuesday, especially north of town, and then mild midweek as those highs near the mid-60s. Eventually here by Wednesday and Thursday. A little bit more rain on Friday and some cooler weekend temps, maybe enough cold air to filter in some snow showers as we head into Friday night, early Saturday morning. So here's a look at our forecast model. And as we head into Tuesday, again later in the afternoon, some light rain chances begin to push through the region. Could see some snow showers as we head a little bit farther north and into the higher elevations. But we're not talking about a lot of rain here. Might be lucky to see a 1/10 of an inch. Most locations a few 1/100ths of an inch through Tuesday night and early Wednesday morning. So again, 35 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. Winds will be out of the south, pretty light 5 to 10 miles per hour, but we should generally be above average here by 5 or 10 degrees for the average overnight low. And then heading into our day Tuesday, hourly temperature forecast gets us right around 50 degrees as we head into the early afternoon. Some light rain chances again after the lunch hour into the early evening. But again, it will be fairly mild. Many locations topping out in the upper 40s to lower 50s. Binghamton will be at 53, and as well as Elmira and Corning. Temperatures again almost 10-15 degrees above average for Tuesday, but then even warmer on Wednesday, 15 to near 20 degrees above average. As we get into the near 60-degree range, there will be a little bit more sunshine on Wednesday as well. And if that's not enough, how about Thursday? We'll get into the low and mid 60s. So spring fever in full effect across the region here. And the extended temperature outlook from the 19th to the 23rd, keeping us in the warmer than average temperature condition there. So Tuesday, again, some light rain, better chance of that off to the north. We sun up Wednesday and Thursday as temperatures warm. Friday, we'll have light rain developing late. Could even see a bit of a wintry mix as we head into that later weekend time frame.
Family and friends of WNBA star Brittany Griner and former Marines Trevor Reed and Paul Whelan are sharing their concerns about their loved ones stuck in Russia. And with the fighting ramping up in Ukraine, the families are worried it will take longer for them to come home. Christina Coleman has details on that from Los Angeles.
Family and friends of these Americans worry it will be much harder to get their loved ones back home amid escalating geopolitical tension. WNBA star Brittany Griner was detained by the Russians in February for allegedly having cannabis oil in an airport near Moscow. And former U.S. Marines Trevor Reed and Paul Whelan have been jailed in Russia for what their families and U.S. lawmakers call politically motivated, trumped-up charges. As Russia entered into its third week of the war, Reed's father told reporters he's not giving up on getting Trevor back home.
His morale is diminished greatly in the last 7 months in solitary confinement. And he said, I don't have anything to say to the president. I think that they've forgotten about me. We have not. We love our son, and we're going to fight. We're going to fight until our dying day to bring him home.
Brittany Griner's wife posted on Instagram, "There's not a task in this world that could keep any of us from worrying about you." She goes on to say, "There are no words to express this pain. I'm hurting. We're hurting." And Paul Whelan's sister says her brother, a former U.S. Marine, remains held in a Russian labor camp on false espionage charges.
The family has many sleepless nights worrying about what is going to happen. I would urge Americans to be very skeptical of any statement that comes out of a Russian official's mouth about Paul, about Trevor, and about Brittany. They are stacking up Americans to use as pawns.
State Department spokesperson Ned Price says they're working diligently on all of their cases.
Tech and search engine giant Google could be landing in some hot water from a lawsuit over restaurant landing pages. A law firm is suing Google on behalf of a franchisee of Lime Fresh Mexican restaurants, saying Google set up unauthorized third-party online ordering landing pages to divert from direct restaurant order pages, causing restaurants to pay a fee for the third-party orders. The suit says Google took cuts of fees from those orders. Google denies the claims, saying their order online features weren't integrated with restaurants and they received no third-party compensation. The Salvation Army is facing exploitation charges in lawsuits involving their adult rehabilitation workers. Federal lawsuits filed in Georgia, Illinois, and New York accuse the Salvation Army of paying well under the $7.25 hourly minimum federal wage in their adult rehab centers. Some of the rehab workers are homeless with addictions or completing alternative prison options. A report says the suits say participants must give the Salvation Army food stamp benefits, can't work elsewhere, stay in dorm arrangements, and some paid only about $25 a week for 40 hours. The Salvation Army says it doesn't comment on pending litigation. Dogs can be more than lovely companions. A new study finds they can also help relieve pain in the ER. A new analysis published by the PLOS Journal revealed emergency patients visited by a therapy dog had less pain. The study had more than 200 participants reporting their pain levels. In the controlled experiment, patients were divided into two groups. One group had a 10-minute visit with a therapy dog, while the other did not. Results showed those patients who spent the 10-minute session with the dogs reported less pain afterwards than the ones who did not. Sustained loneliness. It may mean losing some of your verbal memory skills. Researchers from a university in Norway say one way loneliness affects health and well-being is through losing memory skills and cognitive recall in words over time. The scientists studied more than 1,500 people in Sweden, Germany, and Denmark, and not all showed memory decline issues the same way. How cultures deal with isolation could explain differences, according to the analysts. There were no connections between brain regions and loneliness in this research. Wall Street looks for a rebound. U.S. oil continues its retreat, and Apple could be impacted by the COVID outbreak in China. CJ Papa has these stories and more in today's Business Briefs.
A big week for the markets. The Federal Reserve's two-day policy meeting starts on Tuesday. The Fed expected to raise rates by 1/4 point, the first hike since December of 2018. Producer price index out Tuesday after consumer prices were up 8% to 40-year highs last week. All three indexes finishing last week in the red after Friday's sell-off. The Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ down 6 of the last 7 sessions. Crude oil prices have moderated. The global benchmark Brent crude has been trading down about $4 a barrel on Monday. Traders are encouraged about continuing negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Foxconn and other manufacturers suspending production in the Chinese tech hub of Shenzhen after authorities announced a partial lockdown due to a rise in COVID cases. Foxconn's sites in the area produce iPhones as well as iPads and computers. The company saying it doesn't know when production will resume. And Yum China, parent company of KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell in China, says its business there has been significantly impacted by the latest COVID outbreaks and tighter public health measures. Yum says business had improved in China in January. It has more than 11,000 restaurants in China.
Stars of the big and small screen reunited Sunday to celebrate work of the past year and special honors, all chosen by the critics. Here's Ashley Dvorkin with a recap of the 27th Critics' Choice Awards.
The movies, bam! The TV shows, bow!
They viewed, reviewed, and continued award season at the Critics' Choice Awards hosted by Taye Diggs and Nicole Byer.
Succession.
Acclaimed TV winners include Best Drama Series, Succession, Best Limited Series, Mayor of Easttown, and Best Comedy Series, Ted Lasso.
We see you, we stand with you, and our hearts are with you.
Bulgarian actress Maria Bakalova was among those who sent support to the Ukrainian people.
I pray that somehow, some way, there can be laughter and joy in that part of the world once again.
As did Lifetime Achievement Award recipient Billy Crystal. In his speech, Crystal shared while being recognized for past work, he's most excited about what's to come.
To every little girl who feels unseen and unheard, this is our way of saying to you, we love you and we see you.
The See Her Award was presented to director, producer, and star Halle Berry.
BAFTAs earlier tonight and now Critics' Choice.
Film winners include CODA's Best Supporting Actor Troy Kotzer and West Side Story's Ariana DeBose for Best Supporting Actress.
I am here tonight with Venus and Serena and their sister Isha.
Will Smith won Best Actor for King Richard and thanked the Williams family.
I had nothing prepared.
In adorable moments, Belfast's Jude Hill was named Best Young Actor and later was joined by his cast for Best Acting Ensemble. Best Director went to Jane Campion, and her film The Power of the Dog was the Critics' Choice Best Picture. All movie winners now take this momentum to the Oscars, March 27th.
We want to leave you with a smile. The world's longest car broke its old record, measuring now more than 100 feet long. The restored limousine, better known as the American Dream, built in 1986, first measured 60 feet long. The iconic car ended up in a warehouse in New Jersey for several years, becoming deteriorated. Michael Manning, the owner of the vehicle, sold it in 2019 to Michael Deezer. proprietor of Deezerland Park Car Museum in Florida. Both Manning and Deezer worked on the restoration process, adding updates like a swimming pool and even a putting green. The car will be displayed at the Park Car Museum. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day.